I want to tell you my bus life story. And it actually started with having nothing to do with the school bus at all. I'm going to take you back. I don't remember how old I was, but it was years ago. And I was living with my mom and my stepdad in Oregon. And I was working full time. 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, just like most people in the United States. And I had a home loan. It's one of the reasons I was living with my parents, because I was trying to save money for a down payment for a house. And I just got comfortable. I had the money for the down payment, I was approved for the loan, I had the work history, and you know, it was just nice. Mom made food that was bomb. My stepdad made food that was bomb. It was a nice house, nice property, and I just didn't see the point in spending $1,500–$1,600 a month when I was living there for free. I just put my money in my bank. I got comfortable and I was gonna buy the house, and then it just I never made it happen, I guess. I just didn't want to give that up. One day, my mom and my stepdad really like Las Vegas, and I did too at the time, and we all wanted to move there. My stepdad got a job offer in Las Vegas, and we all wanted to go, and he accepted, and everything happened so fast. The house got listed, it got sold, they found a house there, he was getting transferred. It all happened like so fast. I remember, I think maybe it was like 30 days or a little over that. Like, it happened so fast. And originally I was planning on going there. I was going to transfer my job there, and my white picket fence American dream was going to continue. And I don't know, something changed, and last minute I decided not to go. Right? I don't know, I love Oregon. I love the trees, I love the nature. Vegas is just a different animal. And I decided not to go last minute after they already committed to the job, already sold the house. And here I am now, I think 30 days till closing of their house. And I was tripping. I called my real estate agent and I was like, how realistic is it to just find a house and buy it in the next 30 days? And he said, well, it can be done. You're not going to be very picky. And I was like, okay, I'll just get an apartment. So I applied for an apartment. Didn't get accepted. Days are going by. Applied for another apartment. Didn't get accepted. And I was like, now I'm tripping, right? Because I have nowhere to go at this point. The house I'm living in is gone, or is going to be gone in like a matter of days. And I'm tripping. So I was like, okay. And I've always seen like van life online, like Instagram, and I always thought it was cool. I never thought it was something that I would actually do. So I remember I applied for one more apartment, and I was like, if I get this apartment, I'll get the apartment. If I don't get the apartment, I'm not going to waste any more time because I'm running out. I'm going to go find a van. Got the phone call, didn't get the apartment. You know, it was a high stress situation. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a van. And I had all these different kinds of vans that I wanted to look at. I was looking like a Toyota 4x4 van. I wanted to check out a Sprinter van. There's probably some other kinds of vans. And I went and looked at every kind of van that I thought was going to be something I wanted. And every van that I looked at was just a giant piece of poop. They were just terrible. Not taken care of. Just terrible. And my stepdad had an old Chevy G20 van. It was a cargo van. And I wasn't even looking at this van because it was a low roof. A cargo van, low roof. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. But anyways, his was in perfect condition. Everything had been fixed. Everything was cleaned up. My stepdad takes super good care of his vehicles. We're coming down to the wire, and I'm like, I'm just going to buy JD. That's my stepdad. I don't want to keep calling him my stepdad. I'm going to buy JD's Chevy van. So I buy his van. Got a van. And I think at this point I was coming up to my 2-week mark on when my parents closed the house. My buddy Kale and Tyler, which if you do watch my channel at all, you'll see him actually come and still help me do build outs. So I talked to my boss at work, and I said, I need 2 weeks off. I have nowhere to go. I got to build out a van in 2 weeks. So my boss gave me the time off. And then Kale and Tyler would come every day after they got off work and come and help me build this van for 2 weeks. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember I found this link to this website called Nomad Home, which I'll link it below. And I was just studying all of their build plans and electric stuff, and we figured it out. So my first van was built in 2 weeks, and I built it off of a website. And it wasn't fancy. Oh, also, one of my biggest build inspirations was this Instagram account called The Wayward Home. The Wayward Blonde. She had a Chevy G20 van, and I loved the aesthetics of it, and I was kind of going for that when I built that van. Anyways, we got it done. It wasn't super awesome. I learned a lot. At that point, I had never owned a power tool. I bought my first power tools during that. I'd never built anything like that. I had no experience with anything, but I was desperate. I had nowhere to go. I didn't want to depend on couch surfing, and it was just an act of will and desperation. I got it done. And I'll never forget the day. I stayed at the house until the day it closed. I'll never forget the day it closed. I drove away, and I slept at a Love's truck stop parking lot. And I just remember laying in that parking lot, in that bed in that parking lot, just thinking like everything changed overnight. I went from having this big old house with my parents to sleeping in a van in a parking lot, and built a van in 2 weeks. It all happened so fast. And eventually I got used to it. A lot of people build their vans or their buses and they go travel and blah, 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 blah. And me, it was just a housing thing. Like, I needed a place to live. So anyways, I would go to work, and then when I got off work, I would drive to the Planet Fitness parking lot, and I would sleep there. And then I'd get up and go shower or use the bathroom, and then I'd go to work. And basically every time I got off work, I would just go to the Planet Fitness parking lot and then go back to work. So it's like I just lived in my van in the Planet Fitness parking lot in my job. I was pretty content with that. I eventually got used to it, and it was just normal. But then I started traveling, kind of, during the weekends. So I'd be working all week, just looking forward to the weekend, and I had this van. And I would take this van to like super epic locations. I made it my point to go to places I'd never been before, every weekend. And I'd drive out there in the van, I'd live in the van in this spot, and I don't know, I started getting more creative, I started taking more photos, started making more videos. And I just loved being outside in the lifestyle. I started falling in love with the lifestyle on the weekend, even though I was living in it full time. And I don't know, it was like this inspirational fire just started like building in me. And then I'll never forget the moment, like mentally it all changed for me. I got off work at like 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night or something like that. And I remember thinking like I wanted to go to the beach. Most people do when they get off work, like, oh, I want to go to the beach this weekend or whatever. And then I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, just laying in bed. I actually think I was sleeping in my job's parking lot that night. So, anyways, I was like, why can't I go to the beach right now? It's not like I need to go find a hotel or anything, and then I'll just get up earlier and drive to work. I drove to the beach. And I watched the sunrise on the coastline, and it was magic. And it changed something in me. I remember on the drive to work that morning, I was like, why am I working 5 days a week to live my life for 2? My bills are non-existent. Like, all I do is put fuel in the tank and eat. Like, I don't need to work that much. And I'm not even living more than half of my life. And I feel like a lot of people in America feel that way. It's like they work 5 days a week, they're off, they live for 2 just so they can maintain this big house and the $600 car payment. And it's like, I want to live every day. Even though I'm working hard now, self-employed, but that's another story. I remember thinking, I got this idea in my head that I'm just going to work for 2-3 days. 2-3 days a week. And then I will live, 4 days. I'll switch it. I'll only work to support what I want to do and live my life more. I want to live my life more. We only have so much time, and then it's gone. It's the most precious thing we can have, and I don't want to spend it working. So one day I went to my boss, and I said, hey, I want to go to part-time. And at the time, I was like their best salesman, one of their best, if not their best. I remember, side story, you're supposed to do these dumb little credit applications. And I did more credit applications myself than an entire district of the company. There's 3 districts, West Coast, Mid-America, and then East Coast. And like myself did more credit applications than a whole section of the company. So it's like I was kind of a baller. I was a good salesman, which I'm really good at marketing, which is how we are here, kind of. But anyways, talked him into doing that. So I started doing that. I would work 2-3 days a week, and I would go live. And like I go drive my van, and I go to these epic locations and make videos and do Instagram posts. And oh man, it was like life was falling into place. I was happy. I was just on fire creatively. And I was just stoked. I felt like I was doing it right, and I loved van life. Loved it. And then I met a girl. And the van was perfect for me, one person. And when she moved in, it was too small. I needed something that I could stand up in. No negotiation. It took about a year to get to this point. And I was still like part-time working at Guitar Center. And I was going to look at an old T1N Sprinter. I still love those vans. And I had my heart set on one. I was looking, and my buddy told me about a bus. And I was like, I don't want a bus, stealth, blah, 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 all the windows, blah, 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 blah. Ain't nobody want a bus. A lot of the arguments y'all hear all the time about buses. And he was like, just look at one, trust me. I was like, okay. So I started doing a little bit of research on buses. And I talked to this guy who was like a bus guru, and he told me about the 7.3 power stroke. I was like, okay, well, that's the bus I'm looking for then. Shout out. Started checking Craigslist and Facebook, looking for vans, sprinters and buses, and just kind of poking around every night. And I came across this 7.3 short bus that was in the city that I was in Salem. I worked in Salem at the time. And I started the whole Craigslist negotiation thing, like, hey, would you take this much, da-da-da-da. And I remember her saying, somebody already said they'd give me full price. If it is what they say it is, they're going to be here tomorrow to pick it up. So it's like, at that time, buses weren't popular like they are now, but they were getting popular. I was like, these things don't even, as soon as they're listed, they sell. Like, if you want one, you have to find one, you have to buy it. You can't hesitate. Anyways, the seller was like, but if you want to come check it out and like walk in the space, we totally get it. Or I totally get it. And I was like, yeah, I would actually love to do that. So I drove over there and I walked in. Everything changed. I loved the windows. I loved how wide it was. It didn't feel like a vehicle. It felt like a cabin on wheels. Everything changed when I walked in that bus. I was like, I don't want a van. I don't want a Sprinter. I want a bus, period. So my buddy was right. Every single morning I woke up, I checked Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for a 7.3 short bus. Every night I went to bed, I scrolled Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist looking for a 7.3 short bus. One night, I think it was like 11 o'clock at night, a 5-window short bus, 7.3 power stroke, showed up on Facebook Marketplace. And I think it was $5,000. Which it'd be hard pressed to find a 7.3 for $5,000 these days. But anyway, I was stoked. I messaged the dude and I said the same thing. Hey, if this is what you say it is, I'll be there in the morning to buy it. What time can I meet you? And I could tell it kind of took him off guard a little bit. And he was like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, if it is what you say it is, I will come by it in the morning. What time can I meet you? He's like, okay, well, I guess meet me at 11 o'clock or something like that. I went up there, pulled $5,000 out the bank, met the dude. My dad was actually there because I was scared to drive it. I had him test drive it. I paid the guy, and that was the bus that became SKOOLIANA. And I remember bringing it, basically, so I got a deal with my buddy who lived in Bonita that I could live in my van on his property eventually. Forgot this part of the story. And that's where I built SKOOLIANA. Okay, so anyways, I brought the bus back to Bonita, where I was living at the time, and I was going to start building it out. And at that time, I was still only working like 2 days a week. But I transferred down to the Eugene store when I started living with my buddy in Bonita. Anyways, and then that whole build out, so as soon as I bought the bus, I gutted it, did a few things, and then there was an event called the bus fair. And I remember when I built my first van too, I forgot to mention this, that I went to this like van life gathering so I could walk through a bunch of vehicles and get ideas on different layouts. It's one thing to see it on the Instagram, but it's another to like see it and feel it in person. So anyways, I went to this event called the bus fair. Again, I'll put the link in the description. Just to walk through all these different skoolies. You know, to feel different layouts. And anyways, it was an awesome event. I've became friends with the guy who owns it, and I'm still friends with people that I met at that event all these years later. And I had my little 7.3 short bus sitting down the road that I was getting ready to build out. And then I built it out over the course of the next, 2-3 months. I don't remember. It wasn't that long. And then I sold my van. And I sold my van for more money than I thought it was worth. And I was like, shoot, put it in the back of my head. It's like, if I ever need money, I'll just buy a van, build it, and sell it. Here comes SKOOLIANA, which is where a lot of people know me from. It was an account that gained a lot of popularity very fast. I was really good at marketing. I knew how to market things, just because of my experiences. And I was a professional cameraman, so that's another thing I should say, is I started doing professional camera work around this time that I was building my bus. And eventually I transitioned out of my job 2 days a week into professional camera work. I was doing content for brands, was doing client work, and because I knew I wanted something that I could be on the road with and kind of make extra income. But the main idea behind the bus was I was going to go on tour. I was going to get back into music because I was a professional musician before I was working full time and before I even had a van years ago. And I was basically gearing myself up to be able to make money on the road when I did hit the road. And I was going to put out a record, and I was going to tour the United States, and I was going to do professional camera work. That was my game plan at the time. Now what happened was the social media account started gaining a lot of popularity, and one of my buddies, who's just a savage on social media, was making like $3,000 a month when he was 21 doing like longboarding stuff. And then, I've witnessed his social media rise and how much money you can make with social media. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. And then I started making money off of my social media, and I knew what was possible. But anyways, I'll never forget, I was doing a client job for somebody. It was a big job, and I was sitting there editing in my bus while all my friends were out in nature playing, and I was in the bus editing. And I don't know, something clicked, and I remember thinking, like, I'm a professional camera dude. Like, why am I doing work for clients when I could use my own camera for myself and make my own income? And I was already doing it. I just needed to do it better. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this job that I'm editing right now, and that's gonna be the last time I do a job for a client, and I'm gonna focus on building my own empire. And I did. I focused on SKOOLIANA social media, and I made it a career for, I don't know, years. And I was doing great. I was just traveling around, making videos and taking photos, and I was, making money. And I did. I made social media a career, and that's a whole thing on how to do all that. It's a whole nother thing. We're sticking to my story here. So I made a career out of bus life for a couple years. Well, I guess I still am, and it felt really good to have these ideas and these dreams and then do them. A lot of people have these dreams or these ideas, and that's all it is a dream and an idea. But I went out and made it happen, made it reality. And I was loving it. I met so many awesome people and been to so many awesome places, and gosh, I love it. And then the relationship that I was in at the time ended, and it was the worst breakup. I know you've heard horror stories or seen nastiness on breakups. Mine was that times 100. I'm not going to get into the negativity of that, but when I say it was a bad breakup, it was bad. Now, when that happened, I was at a crossroads. I remember thinking I could just keep doing what I'm doing and bop around in my bus, living off social media and Instagram for whoever knows how long it'll last. Or, because I've always been surrounded by business-minded and entrepreneur type people, and I was like, or I could start a brick and mortar business, because I wasn't sure I could trust the social media money forever. I was like, I could build a brick and mortar business that I can build, and then build another one. And my whole plan was I was going to build all these different types of businesses that could bring me income, and then I could walk away and go back on the road and live off social media income, but have like this little nest of businesses that I built that's generating income for me on the road. So I called it my 2-year investment. And one of them was the bus building business, because I knew how fast you could make money building buses if you know how to do it. And I signed a shop lease, and I've been there about 2 years now. And I started doing that. I decided to and it's took me away from social media a bit up front. But then I started doing YouTube, but let's get there. So anyways, single dude, started a business, was taking photos with models. Life was good. And then I started doing YouTube. Now, the way I started YouTube was my friend Dorit had a bus that she was listing for sale. And I was like, oh, I'll shoot you a tour video, so that way you can have it for the listing. And she's like, oh, okay. And I shot that video, and I didn't think nothing of it. Like, I wasn't really active on my YouTube channel at the time. I was mainly an Instagram guy, and I got into TikTok. And I'll never forget, I got like an email saying I had $300 in my Google AdSense account. And I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? And I went and looked in Dorit's bus tour that I just made to help her sell her bus, made me $300 without trying, like by accident. So I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, how much money could I make, like, if I tried, because it took me a long time to do a $300 deal on Instagram. Like, it takes a while to get there. So $300 ain't nothing to sneeze at. And I was like, I have so many homies in like vans and buses. I'll just do a tour a week on the side while I'm building buses. And then I started doing a tour a week, and they just started blowing up. My channel started growing like crazy. And then Jaylena enters the picture, and I'll tell you how that happened. So I'm building buses, single, out in the woods in Oregon, and I'm doing a tour once a week at this point. Channel's growing fast, no vlogs, just tours. And all of a sudden my YouTube channel says, hey, I'm here checking out your channel because of Jaylena. And like, I keep getting this notification in my YouTube studio like over and over and over and over. And I'm like, who the heck is Jaylena? Apparently she shared one of my videos. And I went and checked her out, her channel. I was like, oh, she's a big YouTuber. And then I was like, oh, she's kind of cute. And then I checked out her Instagram. I was like, oh, she's kind of cute. And apparently she messaged me before, but I didn't really pay attention to it. Because I opened up the DMs and I seen that she had already messaged me something about something. And then we started talking a bit. And then we made a thing that she was going to fly out. We were going to meet in person. And she was going to learn plumbing at the time, or electrical, or something like that. And we kind of hit it off. That was, and I remember her telling me, is like, I need to be vlogging more. The thing about the tours is nobody even knows who I am. They don't know about my personality. She says, you need to do vlogs. Keep doing your tours, but you need to do vlogs. So when I picked her up from the airport is when I started vlogging on YouTube, and I'll attach that video. And then I started falling in love with this platform. You know, she only flew in for, I don't know, it wasn't that long, and she went back, and then we decided she was going to come back and build her bus, and We still weren't officially together, and then, we ended up becoming official. We ended up having a baby girl named Ember, if you're new here. And our little love story, you could watch the whole thing develop on YouTube. I started vlogging the day I picked her up. And the only reason I'm active on YouTube like this much at all is because she inspired me to be. Because I was pretty content with Instagram and TikTok at the time. I guess that's how we're here. It took all that to get me here. And now, my plans are, I don't even know how many years. I sold SKOOLIANA just because of that breakup. Like, it just brought back memory. I didn't even want to look at that bus anymore. Oh, I didn't talk about how SKOOLIANA ended too. I'm going to touch on that. Last year, I think it was 2021, Jaylena and I were at an event called the Send Unbend, and we could walk up to the hole. We used to walk up to the hole just for exercise every day, and you get like a sliver of service out there, but you can like see some stuff coming in, but you can't send anything out. And I'll never forget, all of a sudden I had an email saying that my account was compromised and blah blah blah. I had to send in all this stuff, and I was tripping because it was a lot of time and work. I told you how I left my job and started building my own thing with SKOOLIANA. This is a lot of effort, and it was basically saying they were going to delete the account, and they did. Long story short. And it's just crazy. Basically, it was one person or a group of people. I don't know 100%. There was a few things that happened around that time that make it a little suspicious. They waited. It was premeditated. They waited till I went to an event for a week where I didn't have service, and they went after the account. And the average person couldn't have did it. I have security like crazy on my accounts. So somebody paid somebody who really knows something to take down that account. Because the last thing I seen, my Facebook and my Instagram went down at the same time. And my profile photo was like some weird third world country array. So it's like, I think somebody got in my account, posted some stuff that was really bad, that would make it to where I would never get the account back again. And it worked. I lost it. And I was devastated. It's like, imagine building a business. Let's just say it's a brick and mortar coffee shop. And then someone comes in and just spills something on the floor and accidentally trips to make you lose your livelihood. That's what it was like. I lost all my contracts, all my income overnight. I didn't know what I was going to do. Besides, I said the bus building stuff, but that's one of those things, you don't get paid till you sell a bus. You're just spending money. So it's like all my social media income was how I made my money monthly, and still is. Now, I didn't know what to do. I was losing my head. I was like, I'll just get out. I'll start a SKOOLIANA _ or SKOOLIANA I'll just keep running under the name because it was so well known at the time in the bus community. Which brings me back to this, is like, when I started Bus Life, there was like 5 of us on social media, like maybe. Buses were not popular. And then over the course of the few years, buses blew up. And I say that was part of the rise of SKOOLIANA. It was just always there. As buses became more popular, like the SKOOLIANA account was one of the biggest ones around. Just was. And I remember just trying to keep that brand alive. And Jaylena, this is one of the reasons I love her. I'm a little crazy and impulsive, and she's like a voice of reason. She helps like ground me a lot. And she was like, well, this is a great chance for you to rebrand and show people you're stronger than the pettiness. And it's like, you'll come back stronger. Like, this is a huge blow, and you will be stronger from this. And I remember her saying that, and I was like, that's a good idea. And that's how I started a bus life story. I rebranded my personal account. It was less than 10,000 followers on Instagram at the time. And, I grew it. At this point, we've passed where SKOOLIANA died. So SKOOLIANA got hacked and deleted, I think, at 48 or 49,000. At this point right now, today, which by the time you watch this video, who knows where it's at, we've passed 50 with the rebranded account from that moment. So the phoenix rises. And that's my bus life story up to this point in time. I love bus life. I still have the bus building business. I'm still doing social media. I still got Jaylena, my baby girl, and I'm living my best life. I am working 24/7. Those days chilling in the woods by a campfire are few and far between now, just because I'm hustling, chasing the money. And I want to change that. So I guess I'll go into my future in what I want to do from here. I want to shut down the bus building business. I mean, it's great money. I've thought about hiring people, and leaving the businesses here like I was originally planning in the beginning. I think I'm going to just move into social media again full time. My plan is I'm going to do one more solid year of building at my shop. Just to put money in the bank, stack my money in the bank, and invest it. I want to start getting into real estate, like building tiny homes and little A-frame cabins and container homes. Like buy a cheap plot of land, put a tiny home on it, make it an Airbnb, and go buy another one. So it's like that's where I want to go, because that's a long. I don't know how long the van life, bus life thing is gonna last. Kind of how I started the bus building business in the beginning. I'm always like looking at the future, trying to think of the end game, and I'm gonna move into developing tiny home properties. That's where I want to go. But okay, so anyways, I'm gonna do one more solid year of building at the shop next year, just for investment capital, right? And then the following year, I have a bigger bus now for my family, and we want to travel. So we want to go to all 50 states just to do it, because I've never seen them. So we want to go to all 50 states and just travel for a year or two and just experience and live and like kind of lean back. And then when we come back from the 50 states tour, I might even put out a record and do music. We'll see. When we get back from the 50 states tour is when I want to like build one bus a year for fun. Start developing properties. And I want to kind of be retired at that point. I only want to do what I want to do, and then live out in nature the majority of the time. Like I just want to spend time with my baby girl and be in the woods. But I've learned enough along the way where I know how to hustle and where to hustle at. That is my whole story and how I got right here and where I kind of want to go. Things could change. It's been an epic journey, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful somewhere along the lines I met people, or I was inspired by my family, or whatever happened to make me believe 100% in my soul that if I decide I want something or I want to do something, I have no hesitation that I can go out and do it and accomplish it, whatever it is. And I'm hoping by you guys watching this video, if you don't feel that way, that my story can inspire you. When I built my first van, I had absolutely no experience, and I bought cheap power tools because I thought I'd throw them away at the end of the build, and I never built again. And here we are with the bus building business. When I was doing camera work full-time for clients, I never thought that I could point the camera at myself and make a living doing that. My point is, there's always a way. And it's the people that against all odds will chase their dream. when their own family members are telling them that it's not possible and they just do it anyways. Those are the people that make it in this world. Like, you have to believe in yourself and what you want 1,000% and go after it with everything you have. Even when the chips are down, you got to keep going after it. You know, that's the biggest thing with social media, is just consistency. And I always tell people you need to learn by failure. When anybody asks me, how do you build an Instagram account? I say, well, you need to post every day at the same time. And then the post, you're going to learn through the process and learn through failure. You're going to put up a post that does terrible, and you're going to analyze it. Why did it do terrible? You're going to put up a post that does amazing. You're going to analyze it. Why did it amazing? And it's a great lesson in life. You have to fail to succeed. You have to learn what works and what don't. And the only way to get there is by getting there. I don't know what made me want to make this video, but something clicked and told me to do it. So here we are. I hope if you guys got this far, you know, you're super troopers. This is a long one. That's my story. I'm excited to see what the future holds. If you guys want to see, consider subscribing to the channel. Chase your dreams. Whatever it is. Doesn't even need to be van life or bus life related. You want to be a musician? Go after it like you're on fire. Yeah. Live like your soul's on fire. Alright. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.